This is Alex Moskowitz of the Emery Wheel and Aaron Perlstein of BPA Hoops.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection.
You're listening to the Sixth Man Podcast on Anchor.fm.
Welcome back, folks, to our fifth episode of Season 2 of the Sixth Man Podcast, solely focused on the National Basketball Association. So finally, we, the fans of the NBA, have received confirmation that there will be a champion crowned for the 2019-20 season. Better late than never, am I right? Saturday night, the regular season schedule was released, with play beginning on July 31st. Despite confirmation of the restart, Commissioner Adam Silver acknowledged the risks associated with playing in the Orlando bubble, given the coronavirus threat that we currently face in the United States. So, Aaron, what are some of the precautions that the NBA is taking in order to keep their players safe?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, it's everything from, testing every day to how many caddies, or if you can have caddies on the golf course in Disney World. You know, they're really regulating everything to make sure that there really is no outbreak. First of all, I mean, they're regulating the video games. You know, first, there's going to be a room for video games, and players have to keep 6 feet of distance. They can't have headsets because that's an easy way to spread germs. If they want to play ping pong, they can, but they have to play singles, not doubles. They have to wipe down the table before they play and after they play. They want to play golf. They can't share equipment. There can be no caddies. And also,
If only we followed those same rules.
right, exactly. Their extended family can't come into the bubble until the first round of the playoffs, and they'll be tested daily as well. They're really trying to think of every single way that anything can be, given to other people. Additionally, a big question that Adam Silver got multiple times was, what happens if someone gets it? You know, I feel like it's a little bit inevitable, especially because of just the rapid spread that we've seen and the rapid spread we've seen in Florida in the last couple of days. And he said that the first person that's going to get it, or the amount of people that will get it, will be treated as an injury. They will be quarantined. They can't come out of their room. They'll do contact tracing, but unless there's a huge outbreak, they're still going to resume play and continue to play because they're just going to act like it's an injury. That's kind of their mentality. Unless there's a huge outbreak, then they're playing. There's going to be games every single day. The players, there are 3 different hotels that teams are in. They're not really supposed to go see other people. You know, I listed out what they can do when they're not playing, and that's kind of it. You know, people think that this is going to be just something fun for them, but they're really under strict protocol.
That's interesting. You know, the NBA applying extremely stringent measures in order to make sure that the coronavirus doesn't spread within this bubble. So given that these measures seem extremely strict, you mentioned the fact that that extended family. So how many family members will be allowed to quarantine with them in this bubble originally before the first round of the playoffs?
No one will be allowed to be with them in the beginning. It will be their immediate family that will be allowed to be with them after the first round of the playoffs.
Even their wife and kids?
No, that's the whole thing. There are a lot of players, that a lot of personnel.
That was my next question.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are deciding that it's not worth the risk. There's going to be no fans in attendance. There will be no one that will be allowed to be in the stands. I heard Kyrie Irving, he's out for the season. I don't think he'll be allowed to come to the games. They're really just thinking of every single thing, and people who don't have to be at the game will not be at the game.
It's interesting. So why are they even doing this? Is it just
because they've lost billions of dollars of revenue?
Exactly. Is it just to satisfy broadcast contracts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a business. It's kind of plausible. They've shown that there's an ability to do it if everyone follows the strict protocol, and if they can get back any of that money that they've lost, they'd love to.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so I
So
mean,
who are the players that have already come out and said that they are not going to play given these measures?
yeah, so first of all, they did obviously the initial test of every single player in the NBA, of the 302 players that are in the NBA, and 16 came back positive. So that's roughly 5%, which
Well,
is
302 players that will be participating in the restart
right. And
because
that's
the 8 teams won't be part of
right.
it.
Okay, true, true. Roughly, that's roughly 5%, which is exactly what the CDC and the NBA expected from a population like that. And some of the players that have decided not to play, like Avery Bradley, he just decided that he has 3 children. He wants to be with his family, and it's just not worth it. DeAndre Jordan found out because he got tested of that 300 players. He has the COVID-19, and he decided to not go with any of the recommendations and try and self quarantine. He just decided he's not going to play. Another one, Trevor Ariza. Um, he has a visitation period with his son, who I believe is incarcerated, and he doesn't want to miss that.
I think there was a custody battle
Okay,
between the wife and Trevor, and the
okay,
wife is only allowing Trevor to
1 month.
the
Got it.
son for 1 month.
That's
And of
crazy.
course that coincides with the time period that he's supposed to play.
Okay,
And
well, I respect Trevor for that.
I do completely. That is a completely legitimate reason. Shows the type
Yeah,
of character and the type of man that he is.
yep. And then we get to some different kinds of, Davis Bertans. I don't understand this one. I mean, obviously he's a free agent this year, but he has a history of ACL injuries. He doesn't want to jeopardize his health. To me, that's cowardness. I understand that this is a stressful time for everyone, but he's a young guy. If you're really worried about health like that, you shouldn't be in the NBA, and period. But I understand,
Exactly. So
he has a
if
free
the
agency coming out.
yeah, I mean the question that I have to ask is if the Wizards were still in the playoff hunt like they are now during the regular season, would he sit out the last 8 games just to make sure they didn't get injured?
Right, exactly. Willie
But that doesn't have
Cauley-Stein,
to do with coronavirus. Yeah.
he's expecting to have a newborn child in July, so he's not going to play. Wilson Chandler, he's an unrestricted free agent. He'd rather spend time with his family. Spencer Dinwiddie, he also tested positive for COVID-19 and is showing symptoms, which is rare in these athletes. And so he's not sure what he's going to do, but he's going to try and play. DeMarcus Cousins, he's still recovering from that torn ACL, and he wants to play next year. Marv Albert, obviously, it would be great to hear Marv's voice, but I think he's making a very wide decision. He's 79 years old. He doesn't want to take the risk. I think that's really smart. And then Nikola Jokic, I mean, he's up in the air. The Nuggets depart for Orlando on Tuesday, and he's still in Serbia. So he says he's still coming, but there is a question marks because I'm not really sure why he's not in the United States yet.
Wow, that would be quite a blow to Denver's hopes of making a run in the playoffs this year,
Yeah,
because they're right in the thick of the Western Conference battle.
yeah.
And I mean, without Jokic, they have no chance.
Mm-hmm.
Even with
It's
Jokic,
interesting.
they face an uphill battle against the Lakers and the Clippers. But
Yeah,
without him, you forget about it. And Jokic is looking pretty good too. Looks like
yeah.
he's lost some
Slim.
weight. He's in good shape.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting. I'm not sure why he's not in the United States. And then
So
obviously,
who are these teams signing in
right.
order to replace those players?
So they've said this months ago, especially with the protests and everything, and a lot of players coming out and saying they were unsure if they want to play. Adam Silver came out and said that the team will have a period to sign players that are free agents to make up for that. They're not going to end the season. They're not going to postpone the season. You could just sign new players. So obviously, Jalen Adams, second-year point guard out of UCLA. He's
No,
going to
out
be
of
signing with.
UConn. Go Huskies.
Oh yeah,
He was a
there's no
stud for
Jalen Adams
UConn.
from UCLA. Yes, he will be going to the Portland Trail Blazers. Justin Anderson, longtime player in the NBA, be going to the Nets. Ryan Brokeroff, the Sixers, big nice shooter. J.R. Smith, obviously, to the Lakers. That's the one
Dude,
everyone's
he
heard
and
of.
Kirk Maz are gonna light it up.
We'll see. Luke
Furkan, the
Mbamute,
only shooting they have.
and then my favorite, Luke Mbamute to the Rockets. I've always loved Mbamute. He's a hard, nitty-gritty player that goes for every ball, and I think he'll really help the Rockets' second unit. So, that's all that we've heard to this point, especially if more players, drop out, they'll have to sign new players. But that's the new roster spots right now.
Yeah, Luka Mbamute is a good, solid player. He actually played for the Rockets 2 years ago. I think he played 65 games, provided good defense, hot and cold shooting, and I think he'll provide a relatively big boost for them off the bench, at least amongst all the new signings that you announced.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think J.R. Smith is a pretty big signing. I don't think he can replace what Avery Bradley brings, not in the slightest, because Avery Bradley is one of the best defensive point guards in the entire NBA. But JR has shown an ability to make shots in the clutch like he did back in 2016 with the Cavs in Game 7 against the Warriors. Being able to knock down shots, play the 2 and the 3. We'll see how much he has left in the tank because he's kind of an old man at this point, but we'll see. So, given the schedule was released, what are some big games that you were looking forward to?
I'm excited for opening night, Lakers, Clippers, Jazz, Pelicans. I not only because those are great matchups, I'm just excited to see the kind of intensity they're going to play with. I'm interested to see what kind of game it's going to be. If people are rusty, if anything kind of changes within how they just go about the game. So that's what's interesting to me. Obviously, we see the Celtics Bucks the next night. There's a lot of games that are going to be super interesting, especially because this is the playoffs, like playoff caliber teams. There's no real, throwaway games.
Yeah, it's honestly going to be very interesting. It's going to be exciting. I mean, the Lakers Clippers, that has become somewhat of a rivalry this year. And we'll
100%.
see, there was definitely a fair amount of tension during the games that they played at the Staples Center. Fans getting very into it, had a playoff-like environment with both teams buckling down on defense and playing extremely hard. So we'll see if that carries over to the first game of the NBA restart. And, LeBron, AD against Paul George and Kawhi, what could be better? And then we get to see Zion. And against the much talked about, fragmented Utah Jazz with the rift between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert over the fact that Rudy Gobert was not careful when coronavirus was first starting to spread.
Yes, he was not
ultimately
careful,
infected him.
I do think he's getting too much hate for that.
I agree. He's also donated a lot
people
of
don't
money.
know.
He's donated a lot of money to COVID-19 causes, which is
of course, but we've never been able to actually track where it's coming from. That's never been a case. So yeah, Rudy Gobert he was really dumb. That's, beside the fact that like when he touched the microphones, all that kind of stuff, that was really dumb of him. But, there's a small chance Donovan Mitchell gave it to him. You don't know. So I understand he was being reckless, but, I think that they can move past this.
I agree, but we'll see that the dynamic between the two players on full display in the first game against Zion and the exciting up-and-coming Pelicans.
Yeah,
we
and
should
also
announce that Zion would be one of the 3 players headlining 2K21.
Yes, he is the
in
current
his second year. He is headlining the game.
Yeah,
incredible.
And also, if our readers didn't know, all of these games will be televised on TNT, NBA TV, ESPN. So every single game will be nationally televised.
It's exciting. So we both have had a look at the schedules for each one of these 22 teams. So who are you picking out as some of your winners? Who's one winner?
I mean, looking at the schedule right now, I like Boston. I mean, I think they're coming back healthy. I think they're coming back with somewhat of an easier schedule. Obviously, they play Milwaukee first, but they have Portland and Miami, people like that are on the lower end of the teams that are coming back. I think that this will allow them to kind of get into a groove compared to other teams that are playing really, really hard schedules in the beginning. And I also think, they're young. I think people don't understand that taking 3 months off of a rigorous schedule like the NBA, what that does to someone's body. Obviously these guys like LeBron James, all these people have personal gyms, but they're players that don't have access to those kind of things. And team gyms only opened up maybe a few weeks ago. So, stamina, age, it's gonna be really important. And Boston's age and just continuous speed and pace on the court, I think it can really help them propel.
I completely agree with you. I think fitness will be more of a factor in these playoffs than any playoff season before.
Yep.
So for me, I think the Spurs are a winner. First two games off the bat are against teams ahead of them in the Kings and the Grizzlies. And within their 8-game regular season schedule, they avoid the cream of the crop in the NBA, the Lakers, Clippers, and the Bucks. So in my opinion, I think they have a good chance to sneak into that 9 spot. I don't think they'll ultimately get up to the Grizzlies in the 8 spot, but I think they'll be able to salvage the season and make sure that Popovich doesn't miss the playoffs for the first time
Well, yeah.
1996, 1997.
Yep.
So that is one winner for me.
Another team I guess is, the Clippers, especially with Kawhi Leonard and all those players that do have access to a lot of personal gyms like we've seen. They sat out a lot of games, a lot of the load management. They got 3 months of load management, if you could think about it that way. So if they come back the way that they're expected to come back, I'd be very, very dumbfounded and, upset with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard if they come back rusty and, out of shape, because I think that they have every single ability to come back in tip-top shape and take over the league. Again, I first put the Denver Nuggets. Jokic apparently is in great shape, lost a lot of pounds. He looks really slim. But from the sources here this morning, what I've heard, we're still not sure if he's playing. Mike Malone thinks he's going to play, but, he's still not on the plane to the United States yet.
Yeah, I agree with all of your winners there. So, Aaron, take me to a few losers.
First off, I'm going to say the Lakers. First of all, I've never been a fan of having that many hotheads on one lineup: Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith, Kyle Kuzma, JaVale McGee, Rajon Rondo. That could be a recipe for
Seems like
turmoil.
a combustible mix to me.
A little bit, yeah. But hopefully LeBron James keeps it tight knit. He's had a reputation of being able to keep it together, keep his team together. But no one really understands how big of a loss Avery Bradley is. He played 14 games for the Lakers. They were 13-1 in those games. He is someone that is a huge relief from when Rajon Rondo leaves the court. He's defense that Alex Caruso doesn't have, Rajon Rondo doesn't have. They don't really have that kind of defense on the guard positions. They have great forwards, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, JaVale McGee. They don't. If you think about their guards, they don't have great defensive-minded players. They have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and people like that are great on the offensive end. But the defensive end, Avery Bradley is the real anchor. And without him, they could, they could have a real big drop in their defensive impact.
I completely agree with you, because obviously you touched on the defensive aspect, but also the fact that he can shoot the three. Rajon Rondo, he's a good player. He's still a good player. Not the player that he once was on the Celtics, but his main weakness is shooting the ball. And Anthony Davis and LeBron, they need shooters. They need space to operate. And Avery Bradley was able to provide that while providing elite defense. So I think losing him and even attempting to replace him with a non-natural ball handler in J.R. Smith, a guy who isn't as good of a defender, and given the slim margin that exists between them and the Clippers in terms of who's the best team in the Western Conference, the Bucks are up there, in my opinion, in that upper echelon of the NBA. The slim margin that exists between those three teams, Avery Bradley's absence could prove to be the difference between LeBron winning his 4th championship and Kawhi winning his 3rd.
Yep. Another loser, I think, is Memphis. They obviously coming in as the 8th seed. They have to go through the play-in bracket, which is definitely a loss for them. They don't just get automatically into the playoffs as the 8th seed. That will be definitely tough, and they have a very hard schedule to start with. So if they lose a good amount and lose that 8th seed, and they don't get the advantage that they usually get with the 8th seed in this playoff and play-in bracket that they've created, it could be really tough for that young team.
I completely agree. Memphis, like you said about fitness, the less games that you play in this setting, the better off you will be.
Yep.
So the fact that they possibly face 1 or 2 extra games just to get into the playoffs while the Lakers are resting, an incredible Lakers team is resting, just waiting for them. I think Ja Morant's sensational rookie season will come to an end extremely quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Another loser for me, obviously, the Brooklyn Nets. Been decimated by injuries. The hoopla that has been caused by Kyrie Irving attempting to throw this restart into
He failed.
complete shambles. Spencer Dinwiddie, another really good player who's really emerged in the void that Kyrie Irving has left at point guard. He has COVID-19. He's not sure if he's going to play. DeAndre Jordan, who is a very good backup center for them, played a lot of meaningful minutes, averaged 8 points, 10 rebounds per game. He's gone because of COVID-19. Kevin Durant's not playing, obviously. So, I mean, they're screwed. There's no chance that they will make a run in the playoffs. They're going to get bounced quickly. And that will be the end of an underwhelming first season for the Nets, given that people had extremely high hopes for them coming into the season, including you. I mean, I predicted that they wouldn't
make the playoffs. Right. I could remember that you said that.
And Ariel Helwani, he was somewhere in the middle of me and you, because you predicted that they were going to get to the 5 seed, kind of make some noise in the Eastern Conference.
Well, I wasn't assuming Kyrie Irving was going to sit out like he usually does. You know, he sat out a lot.
But even with Kyrie Irving, they weren't that good, really. If you look at their splits, Dinwiddie has really emerged in his absence, and they've probably been playing as good, if not better. Obviously, everybody knew that Kevin Durant would miss the entire season. Mm-hmm. So that was assumed. And people expected Kyrie to take that big step up and become a leader and guide the Nets to a similar record to the one that they had last year with D'Angelo Russell, at the head of the ship, running the show. But Kyrie Irving, due to injuries, inconsistency, wasn't able to do that. And you see it with Brooklyn's subpar record at 30-34. And ultimately, they probably will have to – the Magic are only a half game behind them in the standings at 30-35. So they could definitely face the playing game.
Yep.
And who knows what will happen with them and the Wizards, We'll see how the Nets come out of this. And either way, I think they're going to be going home pretty quickly from the bubble. They're not going to spend too much time at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
So, as part of our debate slate segment, we're going to feature the comments that Kendrick Perkins recently made. He recently said that the Raptors and Celtics are the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. So, Aaron, who do you see as the favorite to come out of the hotly contested Eastern Conference?
Yes, I mean, obviously, I've thought about this a lot, and thinking about this, I've kind of thought, didn't take the Bucks' dominance into account in the regular season, but I don't know if that's going to translate to dominance in this setting. I think, like I said, the Celtics, that young core, that really might be might be a huge impact for their success. I think the Raptors, like Kendrick said, might really make a turn because they have a great young core. I bet their conditioning and, Canada hasn't been as bad as the United States, so they could have had a real good impact.
And they also have experience in leadership, so you could see them.
And I mean, think about it. Think about the conditioning that they could have had Canada wasn't that bad. So maybe things were more open for them. And, I do want to say the Sixers, but people don't everyone wants to say, oh, Joel Embiid would destroy the Celtics. Joel Embiid would destroy this. Enes Kanter and Daniel Tice, who are kind of renowned as one of the worst front court defenders in the league together. They in 3 games, Embiid shot almost 32% against them. So they might have his number, and I think it's really up in the air. I think I'm gonna have to see. I don't think I can really say a specific answer right now.
I mean, in my opinion, the Milwaukee Bucks have to be the favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference. No question. I mean, this year more than ever, given the lack of recent game time, I mean, fitness will be of the utmost importance to teams, like you said before. So the less games you play early on in the schedule, given that they are playing back-to-backs, playing 3 games in 4 nights, the better you will be deep in the playoffs. I mean, the Bucks, they have a 6-game lead at the top of the Eastern Conference. So they're going to lock that up. They are a lock for the number 1 seed. So they can pick and choose when they play their best players during the regular season in order to get them best conditioned for the playoffs. Then you look at their potential first-round opponent. You look at the Magic, the Wizards, the Nets. Nets decimated by injuries. Wizards and Magic, Bucks were 5-0 combined against them in the regular season. It's going to be sweep. Get out the brooms already. That's done. Then you look at their next potential opponents based on current seeding. I could definitely see the Sixers moving up to the 4 or 5 spot, and that will be a tougher matchup for the Bucks. The Sixers will give them a battle. But based on current seeding, you look at Miami and Indiana, they don't even pose a threat to the Bucks. Miami was really falling off towards the end of the regular season. And they also, they solely rely, or they used to solely rely on their home court advantage. Indiana, 39-26. That's not a team that's going to challenge the Bucks. So then once you get past those 2 teams, you look at Celtics or Raptors. And those 2 teams will give the Bucks a battle, no doubt. They're both good teams with experience mixed with really good young talent. But the Bucks with Giannis, the shooting of Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, I think they are a shoe-in to make the finals this year and face either the Lakers or the Clippers.
I think the biggest thing is people are underestimating just how different everything will be. And yeah, obviously, if this was 4 months ago, I would have said you're probably right. Bucks versus Lakers or Bucks versus Clippers is the presumed NBA Finals. But I think a lot of things will be different. The Celtics clearly have the easiest schedule coming in. Yeah, they're playing the Bucks, but then they go play the Trailblazers, the Heat, the Nets, the Magic, the Grizzlies, and the Wizards, and then they play the Raptors once. That's their whole schedule, their regular season schedule.
That's crazy.
Exactly. So you're going to tell me that they might not get a whole rhythm and groove from that compared to other team schedules, like looking at the Pacers, they have to play the Sixers, the Lakers, the Rockets, the Heat twice. People, I really think that the beginning will make a huge impact and a bigger impact than people think they will. And that's why I'm not as sure as I was when the regular season was going on, like how will I really, come out.
I agree with you that I think this restart will solidify the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference for sure and set them apart. The Sixers, Celtics, Raptors, and Bucks. But the Bucks have a 6-game lead on the number 2 Raptors. So there is no pressure that they won't get the number 1 seed.
Well, they could get the number 1 seed, but they have to produce in the playoff bracket.
Of course, but like you talked about the Celtics getting their rhythm, the Bucks will also be able to find their rhythm against probably better opposition.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be able to find their rhythm, not have to play all their stars, and get them back to full fitness so that they can produce in the playoffs.
Right.
I do think if the Celtics get to the number 2 seed, get to the Raptors and get to the number 2 seeds, I think they could pose a huge threat to the Bucks. But with the Raptors currently in the number 2 seed, I think they're up by 3 games. The Celtics would currently have to play the Sixers in the first round.
Right.
It's a tough matchup. It's going to be a battle, a physical battle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take its toll. Just given what you said about the importance of playing less games and maintaining your fitness, given that guys haven't played regular games, they're not going to have the regular lead up that happens to each NBA season. So that's why I think the top teams are in an even better position now than they would be. Because obviously in previous years, you had the Warriors as the upper echelon, the Cavs in the Eastern Conference until last year, but there was very little competition amongst the conferences outside of the Rockets.
Right.
But it was, I mean, the fact that the Warriors and the Cavs played in 4 straight finals, like, there was little competition.
Right.
But I think given that the Bucks, the fact that they are so far ahead, you have the Clippers and the Lakers, loaded Western Conference. I think that will also take a toll on the Lakers and the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think the Bucks are a shoo-in to make the finals. And I think the Celtics, I can't see the Raptors, I can't see them repeating their magic.
Right.
I just can't see it. I don't think they have enough scoring.
Probably.
Just don't think they're good enough. But
yeah, I mean,
you could definitely see the Celtics or Sixers rivaling the Bucks and making it tough on them in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
But they're all going to have to go through each other.
Yep.
It's a lot of competition. It's very even.
Yep.
And the Bucks will be standing there unscathed because they'll have to play the Heat, who really don't pose a threat.
I mean, we always think that, but yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, I think the biggest conclusion people should take from what we've talked about here is this is not, free sailing for everyone. It's not like obviously it's amazing for society to get a distraction from everything going on with the with the NBA, but it's a lot of stress, a lot of animosity, a lot of protocol that a lot of people have to deal with. It's going to be complicated, exhilarating, unprecedented ideas that we've never seen. It's a journey that it's new to everyone and might impact players' games, players' usage rate, things like that. And people really have to take that into account.
I completely agree with you. And I want to add on to that. Like you talked about, the motivation of the players will be questioned because it's not like a regular NBA playoff season.
It's not.
It's just not like that. So you have to question these guys' motivation and who really wants it.
Yep.
And the Bucks facing the heartbreak that they did, losing to, obviously Sixers did too, but the Bucks losing in 6 games, coming back this season even better than before, despite them being the number 1 seed last year. Giannis coming back even better. I think they will be a focused bunch and be able to drown out the noise.
Yep.
Because that will be important. It will.
Mm-hmm.
You have to maintain focus. Because there will be more obstacles than previously.
Yeah, I mean, for one example, people have been talking about the mental health potential epidemic we've had since then. Since everyone's had to stay in, and there's been a lot of anxiety and stress that people have had to endure. It's exactly like Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan have opened the door to that in the NBA. You could see people really not being themselves on the court, and people really have to take that into account, especially
without their wives and kids,
especially in what they think that they're going to watch, and also their opinions about players, because this whole season has an asterisk, and people have to understand that.
So that concludes our breakdown of the NBA schedules, or of the NBA schedule, talking about the protocols that the NBA has put in place for the restart in Orlando. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back with you soon. Stay safe, America.